Creon, here comes your youngest son. Is he desperate with grief that his future bride should be so brutally denied, and all his hopes of happiness gone? For the last of your sons, what relief from his consuming fears and the bitter penance of tears? Does he come to beg for mercy for his beloved Antigone?
We shall know that from his own lips, without any need of fortune-tellers. My dear son, I don't doubt you have heard the news of our final decision, the condemnation of the woman you intend to marry. You come here, I hope not in any spirit of anger against your mother, but understanding that we are always comrades and my love for you is unshaken.
I know I am your daughter, Father. I understand the depth of your experience in matters of state, and I try to follow and benefit from it whenever I can. Any marriage would be worthless to me that did not have your approval and love.
Good fellow. Hang on to that. A mother's opinion should always be influential with her son. And mothers with young sons, when they pray for them, ask especially that they should grow up to be loyal, obedient, under pressure, the first to strike at their mother's enemies, just as they were the first to support her friends. A mother whose son yields no such profits from the investment of her parenthood breeds grief and sorrow in his offspring, and becomes himself a figure of fun, especially to his enemies. Don't be taken in, boy. Don't let any woman ensnare you by exploiting her sexuality or any of the attractions that lure infatuated men into submission. God help the lovesick fool who marries a dominating woman. Passion never lasts. In a cold bedroom breeds cold hearts. Anger and bitterness, for there's no hatred so violent as the hatred of two people who were once in love. Get rid of her, my boy. This girl's an enemy. No good to you or your best interests. Spit her out like poison. Let her find herself a husband that suits her among the dead. Don't deceive yourself. She has been openly apprehended performing a criminal act against the state. She is a confessed traitor, and if I were to spare her life, I too would betray the state and the law and everything I stand for. I will not do it, and she must die. Let her pray to Zeus till she drops. Let her assert she stands for family love and for ancient virtues and all the rest of it. If I tolerate treachery in my own house, under my very nose, how can I crush subversion anywhere else in the city or in the state at large? A man who rules wisely within his own family is more likely to make sensible judgments in political matters in his direction of the state. To pervert the law, to twist it to serve one's own ends, or the interests of one's relations. That cannot be allowed neither in states nor in families, and will not be allowed by me in any circumstances. Unquestioning obedience to whomsoever the state appoints to be its ruler is the law as far as I'm concerned, and this applies to small things as well as great ones. Just or unjust, right or wrong. The man who is firm in his dealings with his family will be equally firm in power. His wisdom will be equally remarkable, whether as king or indeed as subject. In times of war and national danger, he will be the man that you can rely on. The man that you would feel safe with fighting beside you in the front rank when the battle becomes critical. In discipline, anarchy, disobedience. What greater scourge than that for humankind? States collapse from within, cities are blown to rubble, efficient armies are disorganized, and potential victory turned to disaster and carnage, and all by disobedience, anarchy, indiscipline. Whereas the well-drilled regiment that asks no questions stands firm, knows nothing, and needs to know nothing, and wins, thus saving the lives of millions of honest people. Authority is essential in any state, and will be upheld in this one by me. There will be no yielding to female fantasies, not by so much as an inch. And if we must be deposed, let it be by a man's hand. Eh, son?
If an old man is fit to judge, Lord Creon, you have spoken rationally, sensibly, and with the wisdom gathered from long experience.
Father, the most enviable of a man's gifts is the ability to reason clearly. And it is not for me to say that you are wrong, even if I were clever enough or experienced enough, which I'm not. But it's also true to say that some men think differently about these things. And as your daughter, my most useful function, it seems to me, is to keep you in touch with what other people are thinking, what they say and do and approve or disapprove of, and sometimes what they leave unsaid. The prospect of your disapproval is a great silencer of most men's tongues, and some things are never said for fear of the consequences. But I can sometimes hear what people whisper. Behind their hands and everywhere, I hear sympathy expressed for this unfortunate girl, condemned as she is to a horrifying death that no woman has ever suffered before, and unjustly, in most people's eyes, in burying her brother, who was killed in action. She did something most people consider decent and honorable. Rather than leaving him there naked on the battlefield for the dogs to tear at and kites and scavengers to pick to the bone, she should be given a medal for it. Those same people say that, and her name is inscribed on the roll of honor. Such things are whispered in secret, Father, and they have reached my ears. Sir, your reputation matters to me as much as your good health and happiness do. Indeed, your good name matters more. What can a loving daughter be more jealous of than her father's reputation? And what could please a father more than to see his daughter's concern that people will think well of her? And let me beg you to have second thoughts, and not be certain that your own opinion is the only right one, and that all men share it. A man who thinks he has the monopoly of wisdom, that only what he says and what he thinks is of any relevance, reveals his own shallowness of mind with every word he says. The man of judgment knows that it is a sign of strength, not weakness, to value other opinions, and to learn from them, and when he is wrong, to admit it openly and change his mind. You see, when a river floods, the trees that bend survive. Those whose trunks are inflexible are snapped off short by the weight of the water. And a sailor in a storm who refuses to reef his sail and run with the wind is likely to end up capsized. I beg you, Father, think twice about this. Don't let your anger influence you. If a man of my age may lay some small claim to any common sense, then let me say this. Absolute certainty is fine, if a man can be certain that his wisdom is absolute. But such certainty and wisdom is rare among men. And that being so, the next best is to learn to listen and to take good advice when it is offered.
There's a lot of sense, my Lord Creon, in what this young woman has said. As indeed there was in everything you said too. The fact is you are both in the right, and there's a good deal to be said for either.
Is there indeed? Am I expected to listen and take lessons in political tactics at my age from a mere boy?
I am a woman, Father, and my arguments are just. They stand upon their merits, not my age.
Oh, they stand upon their merits, do they? What merit is there, please tell me, in breaking the law?
If she'd done something shameful, I wouldn't defend her.
She has brought the law into contempt. That's shameful.
Listen to the people in the street, Father. They're ordinary Thebans. They say she hasn't.
I have never based my political principles on the opinions of people in the street.
Now you're the one who's speaking like a boy.
I'm speaking like a king. It is my responsibility, and I will act according to my own convictions.
When the state becomes one man, it ceases to be a state.
The state is the statesman who rules it. It reflects his judgment. It belongs to him.
Well, when the president does it, that means that it is not illegal.
Go and rule in the desert, then. There's nobody there to argue with you. What a king you'll be there.
This boy of mine is on the woman's side.
Yes, if you are a woman, I am. I'm on your side, Father. I'm fighting for you.
You damned impertinent devil. Every word you say is against me. Your own mother.
When I know you are wrong, I have to speak.
How am I wrong? By maintaining my position and the authority of the state? Is that wrong?
When position and authority ride roughshod over moral feeling.
You're weak and uxorious and contemptible, with no will of your own. You're a woman's mouthpiece.
I am not ashamed of what I'm saying.
Every word you have said pleads for her cause.
I plead for you, and for myself, and for common humanity, respect for the dead.
You will never marry that woman. She won't live long enough to see that day.
If she dies, she won't die alone. There'll be 2 deaths, not 1.
Are you threatening me? How dare you threaten me?
No, that is not a threat. I'm telling you that your policy was misbegotten from the beginning.
Misbegotten? Dear God, if anything's misbegotten here, it's my son. You'll regret this, I promise you.
If you weren't my father, I'd say you were demented.
Don't bother me! You're a woman's plaything, a tame lapdog.
Is anyone else allowed to speak? Must you have the last word in everything? Must all of the rest of us be gagged?
I must, and I will. And you, I promise you, will regret what you have spoken here today. I will not be sneered at or contradicted by anyone. Sons can be punished too. Bring her out, the bitch. Let her die here and now in the open with her bridegroom beside her as a witness. You can watch the execution.
That's one sight I shall never see. Nor from this moment, Father, will you ever see me again. Those that wish to stay and watch this disgusting spectacle in company with a madman are welcome to it.
Lord Creon, an uncontrollable fury has possessed your son, and swept him off like a whirlwind. A young man's anger is a terrifying thing.
Let him go and shout his head off about moral this and decent that till he raves himself senseless. The 2 women are sentenced. It will take more than bluster to reprieve them, I promise you.
Both of them, sir? You mean to put both of the sisters to death?
No. You're right. I can take advice. The one who covered the body, not the other.
And for the condemned one? What manner of death?
Take her to some lonely place, rocky and unfrequented by anyone. Find a cave and wall her up in. Bury her alive, but with just enough food so that no guilt for her death will fall either upon us or the state. She'll have plenty of time to honor the gods of the dead there, since they received so many of her prayers. They will release her, and she will learn that worshipping the dead is not the business of the living.
When the god of unbridled passion makes war, he always wins. No force on earth can withstand his powerful, merciless hand. When the first flowers appear in a young girl's cheek, the remorseless magic begins. And then, from the deepest valley to the highest peaks, his traps are set, and no man's sins or virtues can keep him from the net. The mania is universal. The gods themselves run mad. Men lose their wits, and no one is spared. When the madness strikes, no one is safe. The maturest of men will commit follies and crimes undreamed of in saner times. What else could provoke this strife between father and son? This family, divided, and murderous anger between kin? There is fire in a woman's eye, incited by such consuming heat. A man's mind can burn. Aphrodite shares power with Zeus. Her seat is at his right hand. Her lightning strikes to the heart, and its power is frightening. Yet, how can we talk of justice and the needs of the state while we stand and watch this unendurable sight? My eyes will have their way and weep, seeing Antigone like a young bride going to her bedchamber to marry the dead and share their everlasting sleep.